the vision they have of our country is one that I just fundamentally reject. And so the big choice for voters here in New Hampshire tomorrow is kind of like a giant job interview. People are presenting themselves to the voters, and the voters have to sort this out and make decisions about who best represents the kind of future that you want to see for yourselves, your families, your communities, this state, and our country. Well, I appreciate that. But here's what I want you to do with me in just the remaining time we have together. I really want you to imagine with me. Imagine what we can do together. Imagine an economy that does work for everybody again. An economy that does produce good-paying jobs with rising incomes. An economy very much like what we did have in the 1990s, where people did prosper, where people were on the path of opportunity, and where we did it under the leadership of my husband and a lot of hard work by great entrepreneurs, business leaders, citizens of all kinds who understood we do better when we all do better. And that, to me, is a fundamental economic policy. So imagine that we are actually putting people to work to fix and build the infrastructure this country needs to be competitive in the 21st century economy. Imagine that we're not only building and repairing roads, bridges, tunnels, ports, airports, we're actually also repairing and building the pipes that carry water into the homes of children like those who live in Flint, Michigan. Imagine that we have leadership that actually provides support to solve the problems of businesses in this country instead of either ignoring them or driving them away or giving them tax incentives so they leave us, so that we could have more companies like the one that Jean and I went to this afternoon, Velcro in Manchester, which has grown and grown because they work together, the private and the public sector, to solve their problems of high energy costs. They continue to expand. We can bring manufacturing back to New Hampshire and America if we do what is necessary. Imagine that we get finally serious about climate change, not just because it is a real crisis, despite what you hear from the other side, but because there are millions of new economic opportunities, businesses, jobs, technology, export. Some country will be the 21st century clean energy superpower. I believe it will be either China, Germany, or us. I intend for it to be us. We should lead in the battle against climate change. Imagine that we set the goals that I've set. 500 million more solar panels by the end of my first term. Enough clean energy to power every home in America within 8 years. Imagine the exports that will mean we can be sending overseas. Imagine how more efficient we will be. Imagine how we could bring utility bills down for the families of New Hampshire because we will have the system to do that. Imagine that we once again actually try to promote small business instead of stifle it, deprive it of credit, stand in the way, which is what is happening now. Most new jobs will come from small businesses, and it is time we got back to being the small business nation, and I will be the small business president. Imagine that we actually raise the minimum wage so people who work full-time are no longer in poverty at the end of the year. And imagine we finally guarantee equal pay for women's work in the economy. Now, here is something you don't have to imagine. Everything I've just said, the Republicans oppose. They have no plans. They don't seem interested. They don't agree. This is a big choice in this election. Because I have this view that it's not enough for a president to stop bad things from happening, which I will do. I think it's important for a president to try to start good things that will actually make a difference in people's lives. So imagine that we do begin to make those who have done so well in this economy pay their fair share to support our country. Imagine that we have laws that prohibit what Johnson Controls is doing, a company that makes auto parts that came and begged for relief in 2008 because the auto industry was going down. The Republicans said let it fail. The president and the Congress said it'd take the millions of jobs with them. No, we are going to help. And you and I and everybody here, we helped bail out the auto industry, including Johnson Controls. It turned out to be a good deal. They paid us back. But here's what I want you to know. This company that you and I saved, they've decided they want to pretend to sell themselves to a company in Europe, pretend to move their headquarters to a company in Europe in order to avoid paying taxes to the government and the people that saved their business in the first place. They call that an inversion. I call it a perversion. And we're going to stop that kind of gamesmanship in the tax code in this country. And I got to tell you, imagine that we have a tough, comprehensive, effective plan to rein in the abuses of the financial markets. Well, we do, because I've proposed it. I've proposed the plan that can not only go after the problems of the past, which we know all too well, but is going after the problems of the future, the so-called shadow banking sector. Because we've got to stay a step ahead. We can't ever let Wall Street wreck Main Street again. And I have been an advocate. I've been outspoken. I have gone and made the case against what they've done. And I've done it so well that they're spending $6 million trying to defeat me. They started their own little super PAC. They got Karl Rove involved because they want to convince people to vote for my opponent because they know what I know. I get it. And they will not get you if I am your president, because I will know exactly how to stop them. Now imagine we finally get to universal health care coverage so that every single man, woman, and child has access to the quality health care that he or she needs. This is a huge issue. To me personally, it's also one of the contrasts between me and Senator Sanders. Not over the goal. We share the same goal. We both want universal health care coverage. But before it was called Obamacare, it was called Hillary Care.